What a doozy. A jacuzzi. What a doozy. Only 200, my boy? I is, my boy. Hey, yo. Remove. Hey, yo. What a doozy, my boy. What a doozy, my boy. My boy. Yo. Hey, yo, they got the Wang Solo, my boy. Let's do it, my boy. Run it up, my boy. Run it up. How come there's no noise?
You know, why weren't we telling people you need to take vitamin D? You need to stop drinking big gulps, you know, and
exercise, go out and walk,
go outside,
eat less, all kinds of just common sense things. You must and we must start taking care of our liver right now. Why? Because the latest data from the American Heart, and I said it then and I say it now, and I've been.
So I did one last night, and I think we're doing a meet and greet, like a rally today. And I spent the last week in South Carolina and Virginia, and I then go to New York and then Kansas. So I'm pretty much on the road for 2 months.
So I want to start with President Trump, former President Trump, just because he was mugshotted, arrested yesterday, had to post bail in Atlanta. We've seen 19 of his peers, colleagues, people that work for him, mugshotted, having to post bail in Atlanta. What is your reaction to that? For me, I look at it and say, man, we've really become a banana republic. We're really persecuting our political opposition. But what's your take?
Well, you know, now you're gonna, you know, all of your words about me at the outset are gonna seem vain, but I have not been commenting on on the legal actions either against the Biden side or the Trump side. And the reason for that is I really don't feel like I have anything to add. It's a judicial process now, and it's an issue that polarizes people either way. And so I've been trying to focus not on the issues that divide us, but the issues that bring people together, and trying to, find a middle ground for Americans where it is just a place of common sense and stays away as much as possible from some of the culture war issues that divide us, and focuses on the issues that are really concerning America, like, what is happening to our economy, and what is the this level of desperation in the American middle class as they watch their decline as the first generation in history that doesn't, in American history, that believes that their children are going to be worse off than they are. There's a poll that came out this week that said that only 39% of Americans between 18 and 35 are proud to be American and proud of our country, and that's one of the most heartbreaking data points that I've seen. We're seeing a level of economic stratification and financial desperation in this country that we've never seen, and I try to focus on those issues.
So let me.
I've spoken elsewhere about the weaponization of some of the federal agencies, of the enforcement agencies, which I think we've seen, in many contexts, including deployed against me. Judge Doty's decision, it's a 155-page decision in Missouri versus Biden. I'm part of that case. I filed a case called Kennedy versus Biden, and that has now been consolidated with the case that was brought by the two attorney generals from Missouri and Louisiana. And that's an extraordinary federal judge decision where he ordered the White House to have no more further contact with any of the social media sites, and then he outlines what happened. And the reason I'm part of that is I was the first person who was censored by the Biden administration 37 hours after President Biden took the oath of office. White House officials were in contact with top-level White House officials with Twitter and Facebook, asking them to take down my accounts. And they were, none of the information that I was putting on those accounts was false. And they acknowledged that. They developed they said they were trying to ban misinformation and disinformation. In my case, they had to invent a new word, which is called malinformation, and that is information that is true, but nevertheless inconvenient to the White House.
I want to ask, and I appreciate and respect that answer, but I want to reframe the question then, because you made a comment after days are running, Wednesday's presidential debate on the GOP side, that the candidates are out of sync with the public. And I think you referenced Oliver Anthony's song, Richmond, North of Richmond. And the reason why I think Trump and what's going on with him is related to that, and related to you, as you just pointed out, is like the establishment seems like there's a large segment of the American population that they don't want to have a voice for. And Trump, whether we like it or not, speaks for a large segment of people. I think you speak for a large segment of people. And I'm looking at corporate media, and as you just walked us through, the Biden administration trying to silence you. And I see this just as an overall, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, whether you're a liberal, whether you're a conservative, whether you're a believer or whether you're secularist,
we is ranked,
the
my boy.
establishment seems to not want
My boy, we is ranked,
some
my
of
boy.
us represented, our voices and our concerns represented on the political stage. And so I just see a connection between what's going on with you and the political, what I believe, persecution of Trump.
Yeah, and I think that is true. I mean, one of the things that Oliver Anthony, talks about elsewhere is he really frames this as a class war and sees the culture war as an orchestrated, where a class war where both black and whites among the working poor are being systematically strip mined of their wealth by what he calls rich men north of Richmond. In other words, inside the Beltway is collusion between corrupt corporate entities and billionaires and the Congress that essentially functions as indentured servants to the big corporations. And that Anthony has talked about how we've got to put aside the culture war, because it's an orchestrated dispute that keeps blacks and whites fighting each other at that level. And then it's a distraction from the real culprits of this, which is BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, these huge corporations that now own 88% of the S&P 500, and they're now trying to buy every single-family home in America. So, I have 7 kids, all in the age when they should be moving out of the home, off my payroll, and moving into their own homes. And I don't know any of their friends. These are kids that are essentially below 30, between 20 and 30. I don't know a single one of their friends who owns a home. And you're seeing more and more of these kids who are living with their parents for extended periods of time. And home ownership, which was the essential promise of the American dream. The American dream was if you worked hard, if you played by the rules, you could pay a mortgage, you could get your own home, you could have a summer vacation, you could, take care of your family, and then you'd have money left over for retirement on one job. That was the dream, and that was the actual reality for people who are my age. But for my kids' age, that is just a fantasy. That's not going to happen. The price of single-family homes in the last 2 years has gone from $200,000 to $215,000 2 years ago to $400,000 a day, and the interest rates have gone from 1% to 7%. So that home is now cost 10 times what it did 2 years ago. And even 2 years ago, it was out of reach for a lot of these kids. And why is that happening? One is the inflation from all of the wars, the lost wars that we financed over the past 20 years. $8 trillion that we printed, $16 trillion we printed to fund the pandemic lockdowns. So that's $24 trillion that is fueling this runaway inflation that is driving up the cost of food, healthcare, childcare, housing. But the real culprit are these giant companies, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, which all own each other. So it's really one giant corporation. And now they've targeted all the single-family homes in America that they want to buy. And if they stay on the current trajectory, they will own 60% of the single-family homes by 2030. Almost everybody I know has a story of a friend or their own story of going to buy a home, about to make an offer on it, or maybe they made an offer on it, and then somebody swoops in with a cash offer and takes it off the table, steals it out from under them. And when you look at who that is, it's usually an LLC with some ambiguous name. But if you trace it to actually who owns it, it's BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. So these companies are strip mining the equity from the American middle class and taking, our land base. They're buying up the farms in this country. Today, the wages, the average wage for an American is $5,000 less than the cost of basic human needs of food, transportation, and housing. Well, that means that more than half the country has to make up that $5,000 deficit. And the way they're doing it is they're putting it on their credit cards. And so credit card debt has gone up. Now, this week, it hit $1 trillion. That's the highest by far in history. It went up 330 billion in the last 3 years alone. And those families are paying 22% on that debt. If the mafia did that, it would be called loan sharking. But for these banks and credit card companies, it's just business as usual. And who owns virtually all those banks and credit card companies? BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. Oh, and we're now putting 113 billion into the Ukraine war. Biden's asking for another 24 billion this week. The entire budget of CDC is 12 billion. The entire budget of EPA is 12 billion. So that's all we got for the environment, 12 billion. But we have 150 billion that we're sending over to Ukraine. Well, Mitch McConnell, when he was asked, can we afford that? He said, well, it's not actually going to Ukraine. It's actually going to U.S. military contractors, Raytheon, General Dynamics, Boeing, and Lockheed. So it's just he admitted it's just a money laundering scheme. And who owns every one of those companies? BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. And what we learned in the last couple of weeks, that one of the ways, when we're loaning this money to Ukraine, it's a loan, and they got to pay it back. So part of their deal was that we clamped down these austerity programs on them that are, just paid for by the poor. One part of that is a land market. So we're forcing Ukrainian farmers to sell all of their farmland. They have the best farmland, they're the breadbasket of Europe. And 28% of that farmland, and since the war started, has now been purchased by giant corporations. And who are those corporations? BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. So the whole thing is rigged to strip mine wealth from the American public. And these Republicans who are, who were debating this week, they're like 40 years behind. They're all these platitudes from the Reagan administration. We're going to be tough on crime, tough on China, tough on Russia, tough on women who, want bodily autonomy, tough on the environment. We're going to plow down Appalachia to get at the coal. And it's all, kind of these shibboleths and platitudes. And that really nobody can do anything about those things, in a lot of ways. But none of them talked about what's happening to Americans who just can't pay their bills anymore.
So,
and the problem of corporate corruption that has stolen, our democracy.
I'm going to move on, but I gotta I want you to understand. Take me. My dad didn't graduate high school. My mother was a factory worker. They loved the Kennedys and that whole era. And I graduated college. I only went to college because I was a football player. And so I graduated from Ball State University with a 2.3. My whole mindset and worldview is working class. And I've made, for most Americans, a lot of money and have attained some level of the American dream and success. The only reason I can follow and understand and support everything you just said is because of Donald Trump. He opened my eyes to the level of corruption, made me do the research so that I could even follow what you just said and fully understand it. And that's why I have a sense of loyalty, and I think a lot of people have a sense of loyalty. And he's the reason why I have so much respect for you. And understand, and I said, because Trump's taking a risk and he's being somewhat courageous for different reasons. But I understand how much more courageous you are given your family's history and what you're taking on. And so that's why it's hard for me not to begin a conversation talking about Trump, because when I start thinking about, because you argue that we're being divided, blacks, whites, and it's all just a game. And I see him as central to opening people's minds up so that we can get past some of these superficial differences and completely understand exactly what you're talking about and do something about it.
Let me ask you something about that. What can you tell me what it was that, and I've seen, Dave Chappelle's, his routine on Donald Trump was brilliant. And I think, is that, can you tell me specifically, was it that?
The inauguration speech. He talked about manufacturing jobs and them all being overseas. And I can remember when I watched it, I didn't watch it the day of the inauguration. I ended up watching it sometime afterwards. And I sent it to my mother. I go, Mama, he's talking about us. My mother was a factory worker for AT&T. My dad started out as a factory worker and then opened a bar that catered to factory workers. And I've seen the destruction of all the manufacturing jobs leaving these urban areas. It left my east side of Indianapolis, which was very nice. Now it's one of the most notorious, infamous places in Indianapolis. Very dangerous, the far east side of Indianapolis. My high school's still there. I'm still very connected. But because Western Electric and some of these other factories have left that area, it's a shit show. And so that, listening to his inauguration speech, it hit home with me because I love factory workers. I spent my whole life around them at my dad's bar. I can't, to be honest, I can't stand the leaks. That's why it's so amazing.
Damn,
I like you and
he
Trump.
had the gun!
But I do. But I
Hey,
just,
shut your
it
ass
doesn't matter
up,
how much money
boy!
I make, it doesn't matter what zip code I
Shut your
live in.
ass up!
Always
Oh, home
prefer
cool.
working
Hey, you
class
subscribe,
people
my
because of
boy?
that.
Hey, subscribe, my
And Trump
boy.
opened my eyes up to the rig job in the game, and it was his inauguration speech initially,
Hey, subscribe,
and then it
my
was just his base. Despite the color differences, his base looks like the kind of people I prefer to be around.
And did you feel like, were there other things that he did? I guess it was the fact that it looked like the whole institution of government was like against him. Is that what kind of confirmed your?
Yes, that and I've done I don't know if I'm directly answering your question, but I've done a lot of research, or for my level of research, on what happened to your uncle, and so he helped confirm in my mind, like, oh man, there is a shadow government. There is a group of people, very powerful, that are actually pulling the strings, and they're convincing. You got to understand, I'm a journalist as well. And so I started examining, like, look at all the lies that got told around JFK's assassination. Look at Dan Rather went on TV. I saw the video with my own eyes, talking about JFK's head went forward then backward. He was a nobody at the time, and now he's the second coming of Walter Cronkite. How did that happen? How could someone's career start on a lie and then become the most trusted journalist? Me being a journalist, and then me seeing how hostile the journalism industry became against me because I actually prefer truth. And so also when the fake false news, what's he called, fake news? Fake news, that rang home with me. And because I understand it. But I'm just telling you that the kind of things that you're arguing today, most people, or at least I don't want to speak for most people, I couldn't grasp or understand until Trump. And now I do grasp it. And that's why, again, I'm an unabashed supporter of yours. Even we're going to get to some things I completely disagree with you on affirmative action, disagree with you on abortion, but I still like and respect you because I think you're coming from an honest place. And that's all I require. And I feel like all these other politicians are just lying to us and ripping us off.
Yeah, I feel that way too, and I feel like the press. I don't feel that way. It is that way. They're all lying, and it's really extraordinary. The government. If you don't think the government's lying to you, you're not paying attention. You're just not paying attention. And
let me move to this. I wanted to ask you. I saw 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I read it on your Twitter feed, and I was like, oh my God, they won't give this man Secret Service? Are you? That's outrageous to me. Is that still the case, that you're not?
I was surprised about that, but because I get death threats all the time. I get my family history is it speaks for itself. I guess 3 weeks ago I had a mentally ill person making the second story at my house. I had
Sure.
a speech that I was giving this week in South Carolina, almost shut down because of death threats. And so, clearly I should be getting it. In fact, there has never been, and the media has lied about what the rules are. The media says, well, he's not entitled to Secret Service because you only get Secret Service 120 days out from the election. And that's what the law says is you get it 120 days out from the election automatically. And that law was passed after my father was assassinated, because originally they only gave it to once you got the nomination. Now you get it everybody gets 120 days out if they pass certain metrics, like more than 15% of polling for 30 days. And then my uncle Teddy was given it by President Carter, I think 551 days out. And my Uncle Teddy wasn't even running at that point. But, Carter and he had this tremendous antipathy for each other, and Teddy ended up running against him. But Carter was a classy guy, and gave it to Teddy. Obama got it about, I think, 500 days out. John McCain was offered it 551 days out. Jesse Jackson got it. Shirley Chisholm got it. You go down the list, and it's 30 or 40 candidates have gotten it further out than me. And the White House, we gave them a 67-page document, including the threats and all of the documentation about why I deserved it. I'm the first presidential candidate in history that meets the metrics that requested Secret Service protection and was denied. The president has the ability to give anybody Secret Service protection. John Bolton has it. There are many people who work for Hunter Biden has it. People who work for the government, or people who have associations with the government, who have long ago retired and continue to get it. And so, it's odd. It's an odd choice for President Biden to decide not to give it to me.
Did you know that every day Preborn's network of clinics experiences 200 miracles? How? Preborn gives women with unplanned pregnancies a window into their womb through free ultrasounds, introducing them to the beautiful life growing inside. Once she meets her child inside her womb and hears that heartbeat, the chance of the baby's life doubles. Because of the generosity of you and me, we donate just $28 to sponsor an ultrasound. $140 sponsors 5 ultrasounds. Doesn't matter what you give, it all works. It all goes towards paying for ultrasounds and saving babies' lives. The cost of a dinner can save a baby's life. All gifts are tax deductible and go entirely to saving babies. Someday, you may need a baby. You may meet a baby that you rescued, and you can give them a hug. Or maybe they'll give you a hug. Maybe they'll even save your life as they grow and pursue meaningful careers. One thing is for sure, you will never regret saving a child's life, because a life is a miracle. Please donate your best gift today. Just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby. Or you can give the way that I love to give. Go to preborn.com/fearless. That's preborn.com/fearless. Part of the hostility towards you, and there's a number of reasons, but part of it is obviously you've been so outspoken on how we handle COVID and Big Pharma. And I want to play a clip of Alex Jones saying that the mask mandates are coming back, and I want your reaction to it. Is he right? Are they going to do it all over again?
Ladies and gentlemen, I got a call yesterday. An individual was in town, and they wanted to meet with me that I know well, and they are a high-level manager in the TSA. They said, you got to warn people. Tuesday, we got called in, the managers, and told that by the middle of September, that the new policy is being written, that this is done. They were told this is happening. This is not hypothetical. You all have to wear masks again, and so will airport employees. Then by the middle of October, they are going to say that everyone flying has to wear a mask. And in the meetings, people began to ask them, well, I mean, why is this happening? They said, well, because of the new variant in Canada and because of the WHO, they may, declare this, but regardless, we've been told this is going to happen.
How should we react if that does happen, if there is some new variant? What should we have learned from the last time? What should we do different?
Well, I mean, people should do their own research, and but the research out there, and the CHD has posted all of these studies on its website, this Children's Health Defense, which it's one of the first things that I did when they had mask mandates the last time around. As I said, let's see what the actual science says about masks, and what the actual science says that they don't work to prevent the spread of respiratory viruses. And there's, study after study. In fact, the CDC has admitted that they're not scientific based. I think it's disturbing if they do that again. But, one of the things that happened is we created this terrible precedent where the government has shown that people are willing to comply when it violates the Constitution. And we did this with free expression. We did, they closed the churches for a year with no due process, no just compensation, no scientific citations ever. They never showed us a scientific citation that said this works. And they've all admitted that now. Everybody's admitted in the government that these were not science-based. They shut down. For Black Americans, it was, it really shouldered the disproportionate burden of the injury from these mandates. They closed 3.3 million businesses with no due process, no just compensation, no public hearings, no notice and comment rulemaking. All of the instrumentalities of democracy were utterly ignored, and you had just one unelected bureaucrat who's been there for 50 years, never won an election, who says that 1 week masks don't work, honestly, said it privately and publicly, and then a month later, everybody put them on, and then a week after that, put 2 on. The arbitrary, the capriciousness of those mandates was obvious to anybody who had any kind of skepticism or capacity for critical thought. And, 41% of Black-owned businesses that close will never reopen. You talk about Milwaukee. I was in the Lee Harvard neighborhood of Cleveland a couple of weeks ago, and all of these businesses that were flourishing businesses are all boarded up, and some of them had 3 generations, 4 generations of equity, of sweat equity, of investment from African American families, and they're gone. I sat down for an hour with a woman who owned one of the last functioning businesses, Black-owned businesses in the neighborhood, which was an 80-year-old sausage company, and she's about to close 3 weeks ago. Because of the inflation and the higher interest rates, and now it all come from printing 6%.
Nina Agdal, who's actually a girl from Miami that I used to kick it with, and not 1, not 2. Logan just got engaged about a month ago to a girl. Does anybody know her name? Nina Agdal, who's actually a girl from Miami that I used to kick it with, and not 1, not 2. But 3 of my homeboys dated before she.
3.
So
that means they fucked her.
Oh yeah.
Just gotta put that out there.
So, but I actually like Nina. So this is no disrespect, but
No disrespect.
we have the images to back up my my case.
$16 trillion, have now made it impossible for black-owned businesses to get loans because the local community banks, which are the only ones that serve those communities, their treasury bills have dropped in value, and they now are hoarding their liquidity. And there's no, I mean, you see that these black communities now starved for liquidity. There's no money available to businesses, even when they're flourishing businesses, and it's just systematically taking wealth, robbing wealth out of these communities. Well,
there he is.
He's sitting in the car.
Oh, come on, man! You on the clock?
Ready to go.
You can't park here. It's yellow. We gotta gamble.
Oh, you're still gonna gamble there? All right.
Yeah, why don't you move the car? No, it's all right. I mean, he's chilling. Hey, Victor. Nice to have you today. Welcome on the job. Here you go.
I appreciate it, boss. Wow.
Hurry, this shit's heavy, dude. Yeah, I didn't charge the one thing because I didn't know how to take it out of the bag, honestly.
Just slide it up.
I know, I tried. I just there's some more shit. Too many, like, cables and stuff. What?
I'm switching to SLR.
Oh, yeah, that'd be perfect, yeah.
Traffic goes.
Everyone here kind of looks weird. I don't know, some of the people look like hillbilly stuff.
Yeah, the looks look weird for sure.
Info not showing on top of the screen. Alright, I'm me. Tell. Fucking, you know, come on. I'm like trusted Phineas with the cables here. Oh, not the cables. The motherfucking the overlay. Hold on, bro. The overlays ain't working. I don't know my stream. My mom said they're not on. How come Phineas can't keep his shit together? Hold on, he's testing the camera.
That Sharky can swap it out for the one that.
Yeah.
The overlays were working fine, but when you switched over the cameras, you did something.
I didn't do shit.
When you switched
Your fucking server just sucks.
No, when you switched over to this.
I didn't do anything.
It's your server we're using.
No, we used you switch cameras, everything's typically fine. We're using my server, but Phineas said he put the overlays up, right?
What's up, us?
Hey, what's up, man? Oh, what is that? Opened bottle of water? Oh, thank you. No, thank you. Well, yeah, I got you. Hold on.
Oh, I'm okay, thank you.
Here, it's in the bag here. Oh, they're on?
Pocket?
Real confused Hawk. You trolling me? Little bitch ass. Mods are not allowed to troll. You can't do that.
Alright, this guy will keep here to charge the car, I guess.
What?
I'm gonna charge this guy in the car, or we're fucked later. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
My God, the back is off.
Yeah, it's always like that.
Oh, okay.
The heartbeat ain't working?
What's this taking fucking water?
You gave me water.